Hi people, and hello my Chili con Carnage crew. It is Chili here from 5 Minute Reviews, and on this episode we're going to be talking about a very special record. In fact, this one is a Soundgarden covers album that was released by Magnetic Eye Records. It really caught my attention because there were a few bands on here that I knew of, and they did some solid covers here, and I just wanted to talk about this album because at the end of the day, we all love Soundgarden, of course. It's probably why you've clicked onto this video. But if you want to be introduced to some of the newer bands that are currently on the scene, and at the same time want to hear some Soundgarden songs that are, in that stoner metal kind of genre, then this is a really perfect album to come and pick up. Because, yeah, Soundgarden were at the forefront of the 90s grunge kind of movement, but they weren't really refined to that just grunge era. They were exploring different territories around the times that they were around, and, stoner metal is one of those areas that they really influenced, that sludgy doom kind of sound. A lot of it was influence in their music, and it just seems perfect that Magnetic Eye Records gets a combination of artists together to do various covers of songs. So without further ado, let's get into the first album, the Soundgarden Best of Redux. Now a quick note here, I'm only going to be briefly talking about each of these tracks and the artist that covers them, because if I went really into depth about them, this whole episode would probably go for, an hour long. And at the end of the day, we've got other things to do, like listen to this album. So let's get into the first track. I've got to say, Freedom Hawk take the reins here with the first track, Loud Love, doing a cover of that one. There's nothing exactly fancy about this track, but it is just a solid track overall. It's got a dirty blues sound to it, a very stoner rock sound as well. It's a very solid cover right out of the gates. The next song we have is Heavy Temple doing a cover of Ugly Truth, and there is some variance within this track here. I like it. It's a very dirty blues song again, covers a bit of hard rock genres as well, and it's a solid track as well out of this. High Desert Queen covers the track Slaves and Bulldozers, and it is a slower tempoed version to the original song. It's got that doom and sludge metal sound within it, and I just gotta say, I really love this cover. I've gotta say, it's a really awesome version of the original track. Witch Ripper are next with their cover of Rusty Cage, very iconic song there, and it is a slow drone intro, follows into that fast main section of course, and it's very different again to the original, and that's what we like to see when people are doing covers of their songs, because you want to add your flair to it, you don't want to just cover it note for note. So it is a solid little version here. It's got that doom and hard rock kind of vibe in it. Just the vibe. And it's an awesome cover by the artist. I'm sorry if I mispronounce this next artist. I think it's MIRAKLER doing a version of Birth Ritual, and this is somewhat of a rare song. It was actually found on a compilation CD, I think a best of theirs, and was B-sides originally. It's an aggressive bass tone within this, and of course the guitars that suit very, very different to the original in just aggression and tone found within this track. It's got that post-hardcore and hard rock kind of feel within it, and I kind of dig it. It's a really awesome cover again. It's a solid cover, nothing like the original. Caught me off guard completely, gotta say. Check this one out. Miss Lava are next doing Burden in My Hands, and I gotta say, it's a stark comparison again to hear these guttural vocals, a stark opposite to the original material. It's very hard rock, stoner metal, and it's a very solid cover. This is like a newfound respect for a song that I didn't really like to begin with. Just didn't particularly like that era of Soundgarden, I gotta say, and Burden in My Hands just was a track I just didn't follow. But this cover anyway, made me respect the song a lot more. Suncrow are next doing a version of a song, Toy Box. This is a song I absolutely hadn't heard of, so it completely caught me off guard in regards to what I was about to listen to. I gotta say, it's quite an interesting version. It's a very rare song. I believe that this was another B-sides or possibly something on a compilation disc. Took me a while to find it anyway, but it follows along the sludge and doom metal aspects of the band, and it's an interesting song, I gotta say. For a song that I just hadn't heard of up until this, record, it's a very solid version. It's brutal in its, tone and everything. It's a very brutal sound from the band, and I do enjoy it, actually. It's quite enjoyable, this song. This song has a great build-up, I've gotta say, throughout. Spotlights are next doing Jesus Christ Pose. Now, of course, we're going to have to approach this with caution because this is a very iconic song by Soundgarden. How did they do? Yeah, I think they did fairly well. It's very different in their approach to the song compared to the original, in that it is a electronic industrial metal kind of sound. The band style, I'm not entirely sure. Sorry I didn't have a look into it, but it's a very different approach to the original material. So I've got to say, very intriguing to hear this song done from a different aspect that I'd never thought to hear about. Swamp Coffin are next, doing a cover of Nothing to Say, and it is a very brutal version of this song. Hardcore, heavy metal, kind of sludge, all within this track, heard within I should say, and it's got these thick screaming vocals that just stand out. It's got a dirty bass and guitar tone as well that just help pin this song all together, and I gotta say, it's a very solid song. Milana are next doing a version of Outshined, and fans of the channel may recognise Milana as I did a 5-minute review on them a couple of months ago for their debut album, which was incredible, and I highly recommend if you're into that stoner metal sound. So thank you, Milana, for introducing me to this album as well. You guys have done a fantastic cover of this. It's a very different take. It's slowed down in your style, of course, with your sludge and stoner metal aspects to it. I love this track. An awesome song, and probably one of the highlights from this album for me. Josiah are next doing a cover of Apple Bite, and I'm just going to say it was a gamble with this song. It wasn't a song that I thoroughly enjoyed to begin with, and it's not really one of their best works, so I found it quite interesting that they chose this song to cover. Maybe it's their favourite, I don't know. But this is a hard rock, stoner metal, almost gothic undertones with the keyboard sections, which I found kind of interesting. But I found that the cover was a bit average, and that's probably also due to the original material. Lamassu are up next doing Searching With My Good Eye Closed. I gotta say that the original version by Soundgarden is one of my favourite tracks by them, and this version is vastly different compared to the original material, which is always a bonus in my eyes. It slows down the pace in regards to this track, already fairly slow but still, and introduces the band doing doom metal and psychedelic rock in parts almost at the end, and stoner metal throughout it, of course. This is a very solid cover by the band and a great version of the song. Blue Heron are next doing a version of Uncovered. Again, it's not one of my favourite Soundgarden songs, but it's a great variation to hear by the band. I think they did a great effort by doing the version of this track. It follows along the stoner metal styles of the band, and it's a pretty awesome cover of the song. Dendrites are up next doing a cover of Tighter and Tighter. It is a gritty tone within this song. It's got these really solid vocals that I feel really stand out. It's got hard rock and stoner metal aspects within the track, and I feel that this is another solid song to add to this mix. Restless Spirit close off the album doing a cover of Room 1,000 Years Wide. Again, another song that I thoroughly enjoy by Soundgarden. And what do I have to say about this? In one sentence, pretty much, this is my favourite song off this album. It is a phenomenal cover by a band that has really understood what they had to do and just took it into the next level. Thunderous approach on the drums here, and of course it follows along that stoner metal aspect. Tremendous version, and I really recommend you check out this version of the song. Now, I even did a little pie chart here, which you'll see on screen, just showing you the covers that were chosen for this album, and I gotta say they're vastly different to what I was probably expecting from a lot of the songs. In fact, there were a lot of songs here that I would not have expected on a covers album. So it's interesting and refreshing, I guess, to hear these vastly different songs compared to your regular best of hits that you would see. There's another thing I found intriguing, which was none of the tracks from King Animal were chosen for this, and I don't know why. I don't know if that was just something that the record label said, we're not going to do this album, it's going to be purely their older stuff or not, or if none of the bands liked it. I mean, I thought that was a good album. Guys, tell me below what you think of that record. But still very intriguing. Of course, what is missing is all the tracks from Superunknown. And that's because, well, this is actually a 2-disc set. You can get this as a 2-disc set vinyl on the website, and I've got to say this is a very intriguing one because the whole album Superunknown is covered by artists. Again, I'm not going to go in depth on every single track here, so we're going to go broadly over every single track and let's get it into gear. UFO and Matt are covering Let Me Drown, and I have to say it's very different to the original. Brings out the UFO and Matt style. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a great build up within the track, going for that sludge doom and metal style, and a great cover of the song. High Priest are next doing My Wave and doing a dirtier sound to a very dirty riff to begin with. Another track that I thoroughly enjoyed by Soundgarden, of course. It's actually one of my favourites. It's got that sludge and doom metal sound within the song, and I thoroughly enjoy this. It's an awesome cover. MERISSA NADLER follows up with Fell on Black Days, and I was worried because this is a big song by Soundgarden, of course, but they killed it. This is another cover that just flips it on its head compared to the original. The haunting vocals by MERISSA is just incredible. She adds this kind of different element within the song, and it's just phenomenal to hear her vocal styles, as well as the rest of the band. I gotta give a shout out to. They just really enjoyed playing this song. It's a hard rock style, it's awesome, probably one of the best tracks on this covers disc. Somnuri are the next ones up, doing a cover of Mailman. I can't say that it really veered off the path too hard on here. It follows a stoner metal sound, it's a decent cover, but it kind of feels like I'm listening to the original one, if I'm being honest. Valley of the Sun are next, doing Superunknown, and I gotta say it's kind of the same as above here. It's fairly similar to the original. It's a hard rock version. It's a decent enough track. FRAYLE, I'm not sure if I've pronounced these right, with Head Down. This was going to be a curious piece. The original song was a very unusual one, of course, and again, this is a very decent cover. You know, the guitars are similar, but with different vocals within. I feel like this is a solid cover of the original piece. Spotlights is up next with Black Hole Sun, and of course, I was very worried about this track as well, because it's the most iconic Soundgarden piece, I think. This version thoroughly changes up the original piece, though, so I think if you're a Soundgarden fan, you got to go listen to this version of the song, because it really flips it on its head here. The band add their own flair within this track, and of course it's got this very interesting crescendo within the song. It's got that hard rock and doom metal sounds within, and is a very solid cover of the original. Horseburner is next, doing Spoonman, again another iconic song by Soundgarden. This one channels a very aggressive and expertly played guitar riffs and solos throughout the entire song. No spoons, I don't know if Spoonman is still available, but the band go on and do a very good job taking over the instruments that were lacking within that part, adding their own parts and solos within. So it's got a very hard rock and stoner vibe to it. Fantastic and awesome cover. Witch Mountain are up next, doing a version of Limo Wreck. Gotta say, this is a great match for the artist. I feel like the vocals are super impressive as the band marches on to this song's dirge-like march, and it introduces the sludge stoner metal styles of the band to play out this song. It's an awesome cover. Beastwars do The Day I Tried to Live, and I have heard of this band Beastwars from their 2016 release, The Death of All Things. I've got to say, it's a very awesome album. You got to listen to that one too. This song is vastly different to the original again. Very dark bass line heard throughout, and heavy guitars and vocals. The stoner metal, heavy metal within this is strong and is an awesome cover, I gotta say, probably one of the standouts on this album. Jack Harlon and the Dead Crows do a version of Kickstand next, and the vocals are really different. They're very solid within this part. I like the breakdown as well during the solo, and its heaviness gives way to a very dirty blues sound, especially with a slide guitar solo playing out. It's vastly different, I guess, to the original, especially in that regard. Hard rock is affluent within this, and of course, it's a really solid version of the cover. The Age of Truth is next, doing Fresh TENDRILS, and the original song by Soundgarden wasn't one of my favourite tracks. But I gotta say, this version is interesting and very refreshing. You know, it's a hard rock song, and a really solid version of the original piece. I really didn't mind this song, actually. Mark and Steppendoom do a version of 4th of July. Now, this is another hidden gem that I thoroughly enjoyed from the original by Soundgarden, and this version is next level. It's deep and dark with its opening of acoustic guitars and death metal like growls. It's rather intriguing, to be honest. It's a very different take, of course, compared to the original. Even though the original was this really dark, somber, sludgy piece, just to hear this purely on acoustic instruments is so different. But yet, the acoustic version still feels so heavy and just like it's suffocating almost. It's a hard rock acoustic, doom metal kind of vibe to it. and it's an awesome cover. Dozer are up next doing Half, and it's a very abrasive opener. You know, the band just live up to their name. There's this perfectly placed pause within the track that just allows the song to breathe before it starts up again. Very well done, and it introduces a stoner metal sound and is a solid cover. Darker close out this album doing a version of Like Suicide, and it again is vastly different to the original material. It's an acoustic version with female vocals that really suit the song and the style. Of course, this is reflective of the events that would happen further down the line, and a very resounding cover. It's got this acoustic rock version, and it's an absolutely incredible version. It kind of makes you stop and appreciate, I guess, the music that you have just heard from Soundgarden, and really appreciate the life of Chris Cornell. Rock in peace, Chris Cornell. So, I gotta say, out of all of this album, it doesn't matter if I said good things or bad things about it, I implore you to go and check this album out, because it is absolutely incredible. Both of these albums are really incredible, and Magnetic Eye Records have also done a few other versions of various other albums. For example, they did Alice in Chains and a version of Dirt done by various other artists. Maybe I'll go and check that one out and do a review on it. I'm not entirely sure. Let me know below if that's something that you would be interested to hear. But as for now, this is just another episode of 5-minute reviews. I hope that you have enjoyed this long one and a bit of a special one as well. And of course, make sure to check out all of these artists if you can, because there is quite a lot of people to hear out. Hope you have a great day, and don't forget to stay spicy. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Live Listen Erased, and if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with all your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our Chili Con Carnage crew so you can get notified for all the future videos that we put out, as we put out videos every Friday. Also, we are on Discord, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter over at Live Listen Erased, so make sure to tune in over there. And don't forget to like this video so that our manager can stay very happy. What?